So, Luis Ortiz recently successfully returned to the ring with a first round knockout victory over a guy called Philip Penson. Now, Luis Ortiz, of course, is a guy who's a former world champion, mixed it at world level in a number of fights, of course, against Deontay Wilder twice and against Andy Ruiz. But other than that, he hasn't really fought a plethora of world level talent. That being said, at the time, Luis Ortiz was seen as one of the top guys at the division. Of course, he wasn't ever in those conversations with the likes of, your Tyson Furies, your Usyks, your Anthony Joshua's, maybe a bit. But Luis Ortiz in his prime was a guy who was very big, very thick, very solid, and a well-disciplined sort of Cuban boxer who was able to put his hands together pretty well as far as heavyweights go. He wasn't always the quickest, but definitely packed a punch and was able to, keep everyone he fought honest for the most part, except for the guys who he lost to. I mean, even in that first fight against Deontay Wilder, he took Deontay Wilder the distance and boxed quite well and gave Deontay Wilder some trouble. Then, of course, he would lose to Andy Ruiz and, of course, would lose in a rematch to Deontay Wilder. He since then has gone on to beat this Philip Penson guy. It was a first round knockout, so, of course, there is some positives there because, a first round knockout in boxing is not easy to get. Maybe it's easier at heavyweight, and maybe it's easier against the likes of Philip Penson, I don't know. But this guy certainly is not on anywhere near the level of a Luis Ortiz at all. Like, nowhere near the level of a Luis Ortiz. And it sort of showed, when you get knocked out in the first round, it's either maybe got caught cold or you're just nowhere near the level, right? And it's probably the case if he's nowhere near the level of a Luis Ortiz. That being said, Luis Ortiz is old. He looked slower and looks like if that fight had gone, 12 rounds, he would have slowed down quite significantly. He looks very old. He very fat, if I'm being honest. He's got a bit of a belly on him, which I don't mind. I respect that. But he's got a bit of a belly on him. And honestly, I've got little to no confidence that he has anything to offer world level heavyweights. In which case, you're probably asking, well, what's next for Luis Ortiz? He's coming off two wins. He's coming off a first round knockout victory in his last fight. But this is a guy who I have got absolutely zero faith in him beating anyone at the top level at heavyweight. So you think, could he be used to build someone up? Probably. A Moses. Moses would dog walk him. But again, that would be a decent name for Moses' resume, but it seems like they want to fast track Moses quite a bit more. Whereas I would be taking the slow route. And honestly, a Luis Ortiz v Moses fight next would do good for Moses' resume, in my opinion. Of course, he's old, he's slow, he definitely hasn't got the punch resistance he once had. There's no way you could. And facing the youngest, most exciting heavyweight prospect in a very long time wouldn't be a good career move. But I could see them rising up a decent payday for Luis Ortiz, and much better than, the paydays he's been getting recently. There's no way Luis Ortiz would have got a big payday to fight Philip Penson. And he could get a big payday to fight Moses. He could get a big payday against a Fabio Wardley, a David Adelaide maybe. That wouldn't be a big payday against David Adelaide. A Filip Hrgovic. These wouldn't be great paydays. But again, you're comparing it. If I'm comparing it to what he's currently getting, these would be good paydays for Luis Ortiz. And a guy at his age, he's going to be looking for one last big fight, one last big opportunity against a guy who's fringe world level, world level, fringe world level, and can fight him and get that payday. That's really what he'd be looking for. But I mean, he's not getting a title shot. I mean, do you know what? A Derek Chisora fight wouldn't be too bad. You got two guys who are definitely old, definitely past their primes, definitely a lot slower than when they were in their primes. Probably not definitely not got the same punch resistance as when they were in their primes. These could be two old men that just go to war and win or lose, both guys retire. That wouldn't be a bad idea. It wouldn't be a huge commercial fight because Luis Ortiz isn't a huge name. But Derek Chisora on his own would be able to sell this fight. And the fact that it's his retirement fight as well, there's definitely some options there. And of course, if you're a guy who wants to break into that next level or return to that level in Luis Ortiz's case, you need to be coming off victories. And luckily, he's done that. So he's put himself in a better position now that he's got 2 wins on the trot. But yeah, I'd be curious to know what you guys think of Luis Ortiz, what you think is next for his career, and also what did you think of this fight against Philip Penson? I'd be curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.